So, you want to try out 3D printing, but you don't know what type of printer to buy. Well, I recommend that you try out the Prusa MINI. Wait, you don't know how to use it? Don't worry, that's what today's tutorial is going to focus on. But before we get started, I wanted to mention the prices of the Mini and any additional upgrades that you might choose to add on. So I have on the screen a price list, including all the different types of purchases you might make, which for your convenience is listed in several different currencies. Okay, with that all said, let's move on to step 1, which is downloading PrusaSlicer. Alright, so first and foremost, you need to have PrusaSlicer on your computer. This application is how you'll convert model files into G-code, which is a set of commands that move parts within the printer. I already have it downloaded, so I'll just show you the page I downloaded it from. I'll also link it in the description. Okay, so after completing step 1, we'll move on to step 2. Each Prusa set comes with a flash drive with some preloaded print files, but it's more fun to go and get your own design. So I'll show you a site where you can get prints from. There are several websites out there with free downloads, but I mainly use Thingiverse. Now before you start searching, it's important to remember that the Mini only has a build volume of 180 by 180 by 180 millimeters, which converts to about 7 inches. You can really search for anything you want. For example, I'll search for a toothpaste. For sure. Alright, this one looks simple enough. So after you've completed step 2, we'll move on to step 3. So on Thingiverse, there should be a button called Download All Files. You'll press that and it'll jump you down to the bottom of the page, which shows all the files in the model. Notice how these files are specifically STL. Because these types of files are handled easily by 3D machines and software, they are very commonly used when converting a 3D object model to specific instructions for the printer. So when you're looking for models online, look for an STL file. Okay, moving on to step 4. We'll select the Add icon in the top left-hand corner. We'll select our STL file, open. It'll automatically be placed right in the middle of our build plate. Okay, moving on to the next step, step 5. Just going to leave this as is, but I'll go over the settings over here very quickly. So if you hit move, so you can move your part around the build plate, like so. This is just scale. Nope, just scale. This button rotates it. And finally, place on face. Essentially, you hit a face on your part and it flips it to attach to the build plate. It's important to make sure you have the correct settings. Make sure you select your correct filament. I have Prusa PLA, so that's what I have selected here. Make sure you have the correct printer selected. So I'm gonna select the Mini. And finally, infill. That defines the amount of plastic used on the inside of the print. Okay, so after you have your part oriented the way you want it on your build plate, we'll move on to step 6. So you're going to want to slice it, hitting slice now. And now you see, part looks a little different. So you can use this slider bar on the side to go by layer and have it change color about right here. So just press the plus, as so. And so now we have it. It'll print in one color up until this mark right here. And then above, it'll be a different color. Okay, after you've properly selected the level you want your color to be changed at, we'll move on to step 7. So hit slice now again. Go to this icon, export to SD card / flash drive. Hit that, and it should just pop up your flash drive name. And just hit save. We'll move on to our next step, which is step 8. So first, make sure to plug in your flash drive to the printer, and then turn it on. For anyone watching from a different country or just not comfortable with English, I'll show how to change the display language. First, scroll all the way down to settings, and then from settings, the very last option should be language. Select your preferred language. Before loading your filament, one thing you need to look at is the tip of your filament. See how it's kind of ball-shaped? That might get caught on the extruder and might damage the printer. So the way to fix this is to cut the tip. So see now how the tip of the filament is sharp and ready to be extruded. To load filament, scroll over to filament, enter, hit load filament, and then select PLA. To load the filament, take the end, push it into the clear tube all the way until you can't push anymore. Make sure the wheel spins just fine. And then press continue. You should feel the filament start to move in and then finally go through into the extruder. And then it should come out the nozzle. Yep. Is this color correct? Make sure that it is and then press yes. If not, then hit retry. Before we move on, I wanted to quickly go over a potential issue which might occur especially when first using the printer. If the nozzle height above the heat bed is too low, the print will look streaky. If it's too high, the filament might not stick to the bed. Ours sits at around -1.3 millimeters. I recommend using the first level calibration test to adjust the nozzle and find the correct height. To do this, go to Calibration, scroll down to first layer calibration test. Press next, and then hit yes. Once the printer starts extruding plastic, adjust the nozzle height using this knob. Use the chart on the screen to properly calibrate the nozzle height. With our filament properly loaded, we can now go to step 9, which is starting our print. So hit return, print, and then press that, start print. Now we're at step 10. After the print hits the layer we set the color change at, the filament will unload itself and require you to reload another filament color. Load the filament just like you did in step 8. Now it's time for our final step, step 11. So first, I would recommend waiting at least 5 to 10 minutes before touching the heat bed to get the print off. You don't necessarily have to unload the filament, but I would recommend it, so I'll go ahead and do that right now. It should be the same process as loading, but instead you just press unloading. And finally, remember to turn off your printer. And here we go, our finished project. Thank you so much for watching this video. Make sure to leave any questions or comments in the comment section below, and have fun with your new Prusa Mini.